Accept the inevitable. Yeah, truer words have never been spoken. This game is just plain frustrating. People have told me Contra is hard, they should play this. I died more times in this game than I did the entire time I've ever played Contra. Alex Kidd in Miracle World was released by Sega on the Master System in 1986. For those who don't know, Alex Kidd was supposed to be the original mascot for Sega. That stopped when a blue hedgehog named Sonic entered the gaming world. However, Alex Kidd actually has quite a few games for both the Master System and the Genesis. I'm reviewing Miracle World only because it was suggested to me. And honestly, Johnny, I was cursing you the entire frickin' time I was playing this damn game. Let me get this into your head before I proceed. Miracle World isn't a bad game. In fact, it's actually pretty good. But there's two things that bog this game down the entire time, and you're going to hear me bitching about for the entire review. There's an unrelentless difficulty, and there's an overly responsive control scheme. I'll get to these two in a little bit, but first let me recount the story for you. You play as Alex Kidd, a prince of some distant land named Redaxian. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. Apparently he has been kidnapped as a child and is just now heading back to his homeland to take care of the evil king that took over. I don't know what took him so long. You think he would do it right away, as soon as he learned? I don't know. Anyway, the king's name is Jankin, and that actually plays a part in the game. I'll explain this really quickly too. There aren't a ton of bosses. However, 3 of them require you to play rock, paper, scissors with them to pass. Yeah, you heard that right. Rock, paper, scissors. Apparently, in the Western world, this game is also known as Jankin. Yes, it's the same name of the evil king you're hunting. Now, I wouldn't mind this as a side game, but if you lose 2 out of 3 games of Jankin to the boss characters, you lose a life. And when this game requires you to scrounge and save every life possible, losing them to a game of shit luck just isn't right. And you need to consider that you fight these boss characters twice each, and then King Jankin himself, who you finish off by completing one final game with Jankin. Yeah, you have to fight Jankin with Jankin. If you win, he turns to stone, and you have one more stage to complete. I'll get to that later, though. Right from the beginning, you may notice what makes this game so friggin' difficult: the controls. They're just too responsive. If you press the direction for a split second longer than necessary, Alex will careen off of a cliff or jump too far. If you don't press it long enough, he'll stop short, and more often than not, will cause a messy death. The first stage of the game is also a downhill stage, where you're climbing down a mountain into a lake. There's birds flying all over, so you need to be absolutely sure that the area you're jumping to is clear of any enemies. And like many other games, one hit kills you instantly. There's no health bar, which would have been a nice addition to the game. And while you're sliding around, let me mention your primary weapon, your fists. Alex punches to kill. This wouldn't normally be a problem, but you have that slight chance if you're not careful of sliding into an enemy as you're trying to punch them, resulting in a murder-suicide. Again, it's just frustrating. After you manage to fall down the mountain, you end up in a lake. I hate water stages, and it doesn't matter what game. To me, swimming controls always feel awkward, no matter whether it's Mario, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, God of War, Banjo-Kazooie, or even Sonic. Although the controls are smoothest in the water, which is kinda strange, it can still be difficult to punch fish and not get hit yourself. You can hold one of the buttons to swim faster, and the other is your normal attack. Just be careful not to swim too fast and end up fish food. And that reminds me, the controls are reversed in this game. Most of the time, the button on the right, which I can't remember what number it is on the controller, but I know it's the equivalent of A on the NES, that's the punch, and the Sega Master System's B jumps. After playing games that take after Mario's control scheme for my entire life, you can expect that this takes a bit of getting used to. Once you get it down, it's not so bad, but it's still awkward at first, and will probably get you killed a few times on your first playthrough. As you run around the game, you'll find a few blocks with objects in them. Your main block has a star in the center of it, and if you punch it, it will yield a bag of money. Small bags give you $10, large ones $20. And blocks with question marks, it can contain either a power-up, which is normally a ring which allows you to fire projectiles when used, or a ghost which will chase you until you're outrunning off the screen. Sometimes it will also give you an extra life. I read that in order to get the extra lives, you just need to first find a ghost and outrun it, and then all subsequent blocks that would normally contain ghosts on that stage will instead give you an extra life. It's well worth the risk, and the ghosts can usually be outran easily enough with a few seconds of planning. There's also a few specialty blocks, such as switches on the ground or a block with a skull on it, which, although it doesn't kill you immediately, it'll instead render you paralyzed for about 3 seconds. Now I mentioned money, and it's critical that you get as much as possible. There's 2 main uses. There's a shop every few stages where you can buy power-ups, ranging from extra lives, to weapons, to even some vehicles. Vehicles are used immediately, and if you strike a block, or in some cases an enemy, it will be destroyed. Only one stage requires you to use the vehicle, and you don't have to buy it in that stage. For every other vehicle area, if you get hit, it's not a big deal, but you do want to avoid this because there's a lot of cash to be gained in vehicles. The other use for money is actually a secret. Basically, when you get game over, there's no continues. Or are there? As long as you have 400 bucks, you can hold up and press button 2 about 8 times or so, and it'll continue you at the same stage you died. This is extremely helpful, especially when you progress further into the game. But here's my question. Why is it so friggin' secret? Why not just ask you to continue instead of forcing you to start over every friggin' time you lose all your lives? The game's hard enough. Can't they relax a bit? Let me back up a bit and get back to the vehicles. There are 3. There's a car, a pedicopter, and a boat. The boat is only in one stage, and if you lose it, you just fall into the water and have to swim to the finish. The car is in a few stages, and it can run over enemies easily. The only way this gets destroyed is if you fall into a pit larger than 1 block, or hit a red block. The pedicopter is fun though, because it allows you to fly. It can be destroyed by both enemies and by hitting its propeller on an object above you. However, both the pedicopter and boat can fire projectiles, allowing you to kill potential hazards. Although the game is difficult, these stages give you a nice change of pace and also allow you to collect a lot more money than you normally would on foot. I can consider them bonus stages. There's quite a selection of scenery that you'll encounter in Miracle World. As I said, the first stage is a mountain, and you end up in water, but you'll also set foot in a few towns, a place that looks like a swamp, a forest, a cave, a few castles, of which the final one is pure hell, and several lakes. They're all intertwined by a map that will make itself present whenever you finish a stage. They mix together nicely, and you don't wonder how Stage A leads to Stage B. For example, you don't go from a desert to a snowfield. Although I have no idea why Alex Kidd finishes a stage by eating a rice cake. I mentioned bosses previously, but I may as well touch on the 2 that don't require you to play rock, paper, scissors. Jenkin. One is a bull, which is pretty straightforward enough. The second is a bear wielding a sword. Yeah, you heard me right. Just use the ring and you'll be fine though. Otherwise, just get near him and punch the hell out of him, but make sure to avoid the odd-looking things that this monkey-like creature is throwing your way. As for the Jenkin bosses, you do have to actually fight them the second time you meet them all. For the most part, they're easy, but they can be a pain in the ass if you're not careful. However, and although I don't know if it's just a bug or not, if you die after you've did a bit of damage to them, they retain their remaining health when you revive. For example, each boss can only take 3 hits before dying. So if you hit one twice and then die, when you revive, you only need to hit it 1 more time. If you get a game over though, all bets are off and you need to start over, continue or not. The final stage is Jenkins Castle, and as I said, it's pure hell. I'll admit I needed an infinite live pro action code to finish this damn game, or else there was no way in hell I would finish it. The game turns the difficulty setting from 9 to overclocked. For the first thing, it's a maze. You need to hope you go in the right way. Second, there's areas where you don't know what to do right away, so you'll end up dying with trial and error. For example, you'd think this is water here, but instead it kills you like it was poisoned. How the hell are you supposed to know that this will kill you and you need to hit this damn fish block twice to get a small gate open to proceed? And even worse, this. All these spikes. And remember, you only get 3 lives to start. Remember that swimming scene in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for NES? This puts that to shame. At least you had a friggin' health bar in Turtles and can switch between 4 turtles. In this, you get 1 character, and if you get too close, you're dead. Lose all of your lives and you gotta start the whole friggin' thing over again. When you do finally get to the end, you face Jenkin in one final Jenkin game. If you win, you just need to attack him 3 times and he's done for. I've read that if you climb up the ladder and then go back down, you can actually fight him again and win even more points. But really, without a high score table, is there really a need for this? I wanted to finish the damn game. So you proceed a few screens and get to the very last room. It contains just 5 blocks with symbols, spikes on the top platform, and no instructions. What you have to do is hit the blocks in the right order, but there's 2 catches. One, you have to do it in multiple times, because some blocks require multiple hits. Second, if you hit the wrong one, a ghost appears to slay you, and there's nowhere you can run from it. Apparently in the first castle you get to, there's a hidden item that you give to an NPC in the second castle, who gives you information on the puzzle, but I never found it. I had to look up a friggin' FAQ just to figure this out, because even with infinite lives, starting the puzzle over repeatedly got old really quick. Finally, once you get the pattern down correctly, you need to jump over the spike pits on the top to get to the magic crown that appears. After you get that, you can finally relax because this game is finally over. Now that I got all the bad stuff out of the way, I may as well touch on the good stuff that I actually enjoyed. The music isn't too bad, and although you do hear it frequently because it seems like the same track over and over, it's good enough that it's not annoying. Also, for a Sega Master System game, the graphics are pretty good. It's nothing eye-popping, but it's not like the colors are attacking your eyes. Everything looks and sounds the way it should, which is nice because even while I was ready to break my controller in rage, I was able to keep playing it. The difficulty is incredibly rough, but it's one of those games that the more you play it, the better you get, and the further you get every time. Once you finish a stage, you breathe a sigh of relief and attempt the next one. With no save feature, it's probably good that the game is relatively short. You can probably finish it in a little bit less than an hour. But as I said, with the scarceness of extra lives, you really need to be cautious and get the game's controls perfected ASAP. I also didn't mention the extra usable power-ups. The only one I actually tried was the ring, which allows you to throw waves of glittery force at your enemy. It helps if you need to attack something out of your range, like a few of the bosses. You can also get a cane that allows you to fly for a few seconds, and 2 different crystals. One allows you to clone yourself and have them attack everything on the screen, and the other is just a more powerful version of this. You also have access to an invisibility power-up. I would assume that it allows you to pass by your foes, but again, I've never tried it, so I'm not entirely sure on that. Alex Kidd is a good game if you enjoy a good, relentless challenge. It's frustrating, and its controls have a lot to do with that, but if you can get past that, it's a pretty solid game. My final score, 7 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.